would hope so. And I'm a trained opera singer, so I sang classical music, classical church music, art songs, opera, all this classical repertoire for over 20 years. I was a voice teacher, of course, and a choir conductor. I got my training both in Germany, in the United States, and in France. And I sang pretty much on stage on a regular basis, on and off, until I moved to Houston 6 years ago, where I decided that it was time to. I still sing in opera, in professional choirs, but I decided that it was time to give back on a different level. And right now I'm using, so I became a coach, trained as a transformational coach, success coach, and I now really work on using everything I've learned about being on stage, stage fright, and even when you are in public, even people who are in public, as I was for many, many decades, I realized that there were always a distance between me and the public, because there were things I would not dare to say, things I was hiding, things that I was not proud of, that I was afraid of. And even as I looked very confident on stage and very, sure of what I was going to say, what I was going to sing, what I was going to do, I really saw inside of myself that I was not completely true to myself. And this is what brought me to my own personal journey, my own transformational journey, and then eventually to being a coach, and now to sharing all these things that I've learned from myself and that I've seen in my clients for so many years. So that's where I am now, and working to put together a program that I can really pinpoint the three main reasons why we don't speak up. So,
to be honest, that's what I learned from you, from working with you, and you have amazing content. And so if you could, what I didn't realize is it was kind of like, I'm guessing about 99% of people have one of these three things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you could talk about those, and I love the way that we've named them too.
Yeah. So not only, for example, the first fear, which is very, very common, is, and I should have that in my, it's, oh my goodness, the fear of,
The tribal outcast?
Tribal outcast, yes. The fear of disappointing your tribe. And this can show up, of course, in speaking in public, but any of those fears can also show up in the rest of your life. It is there. So tribal outcast is when we're having all these belief system that is coming from our family of origin. And then the belief we have is that if we step out of what we learned, we're going to be in danger. We're going to be cast out by our family. They're not going to love us anymore. So that's something that a lot of us have. We are afraid of disappointing someone. The thing is that someone might still be alive or might still be dead. It doesn't matter. It's the little girl inside of us that is still afraid of disappointing that someone. And that if we actually ask for something, or if we say something, or if we dare to cross a certain line, or if we dare to agree with the other people that our family was typically in disagreement with, whoever those other people are, then we're not going to be loved anymore. We're not going to be part of the group anymore. Does that ring a bell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something that you can relate to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. I think it applies. Well, I run into it a lot. I run into it myself. If you are stepping out and, like, as an entrepreneur, you create your own space, your own voice, your own mission, your own copy, and you don't come from a family where that was a thing, or even a group of friends, then you have to get past that. Like, you have to get over the fact that they're going to think you're crazy a little bit. And if you're lucky, in less comfortable situations, sometimes people are undermining, or I've heard from other clients and people I've talked with that somebody that the very person they thought would support them the most just turned out to be kind of threatened by this. Does that, do you ever run into that?
Yeah. So we have to understand something about the belief system. A belief system is all what we have in the background that is running in the background without us knowing it. And we build it as we grow up, as soon as we come out of the womb. And so we come in this planet, and then we have, we're starting to have impression and sensation and smell and sounds, and it can be anything really. And then we start to have people telling us things and giving us messages, and we have also, can be our parents, our caretaker, it can be our siblings, and then we're having the radio, the TV, and then we're having the church, and then we're having the school, and then we're having all this, you know, the supermarket, where you go shopping or where you don't go shopping, where you go have fun and where you don't go have fun. Those people will do that, and we have all these messages, and until we are pretty much 7 years old, as children, we are completely open. We are an open book. We are in what we call theta waves. So these waves, which is when you are in trance, that's the same thing. We don't have the critical ability to say, this I want in my life and this I don't want. Until we're 7 years old, we take anything that we are told. That's simply what it is. And then I don't know how you said in here in America, but in France, we call the age of reason when you get 7. It's for a reason. Is that when you start to say, oh, maybe I like that and maybe I don't like that. Maybe we start to get out of this hypnotic state. That's the hypnotic state. The theta waves is the hypnotic. We can start to get out of this hypnotic state, and that's when we rebel. I don't know about you, that's when I'm starting to rebel. Anyway, and that's when we start to, but everything we've heard, everything we've learned has become ingrained and has become automatic. It's like driving a car. In the beginning, you told something, you have to go through the motions. Eventually, it's something, it becomes part of you. And when we grow up, if we have enough of this, remembering these reminders from everybody else that we don't trust which people, we don't like this kind of people, we don't go there, we don't do that. If we have enough of these reminders all our life, we only look for the proof of what we believe already. And we grow our belief system, and it becomes who we think we are.
Okay.
And yeah, okay. So when we step out of that, when we want to step out of that, when we want to talk and to say something that goes against that, we are in deep trouble. And then the whole thing is running in the background, and we start to shake, we start to get red in the face, and it gets really problematic.
Right.
So don't want to go any deeper in that. I know I could talk forever on that topic. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like a cycle.
No,
kind
thank you.
It's part of our brain that wants to protect us.
It is a cycle.
Yeah.
It is a vicious cycle. And the thing is, first of all, we don't know it. We don't recognize it. And we don't see, what is funny, he says, well, I was not afraid of doing that when I was young. Why am I afraid of doing that now? It's the thing that we learned and the result we have in our life are not necessarily the same in the same field. You know, so it transcribed. If you were afraid, like in school, now it doesn't mean that you're going to be scared or you're going to have issues in your business. You might have issues in your marriage, or etc. You know, it doesn't mean if you have issues in your family or with your dad or with your mother, it doesn't mean that it can transcribe now in your life in a very different way. But what we need to look at is, what is it as a young girl, as a young person, that you decided at that point that you did? What would be your truth for your rest of your days? Did you decide that you were not good enough? What is it that you decided?
Okay. All right. So that would be one thing, kind of thinking back, like ages 1 to 7. And so the tribal outcast was the number one, that you're able to lose the love of your tribe. And that's an extremely like old figure, I think. Yes, we're going into the old brain there. We're going into So let's talk about the second one. So the second one is fascinating because most, and I think in the United States more than anyone else I've seen that, is the fear of making a fool of yourself. So we see that everywhere. If I speak up, I'm going to make a fool of myself. People are going to see I'm not good enough. People are going to see, and I call her foolish.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. And I call her foolish fantasia, because it's like, who do you think you are? Really, you want to speak? I found that a lot of people in America, particularly because of the school system that encourage the kids to speak in public and in front of the class, a lot more than I grew up in France, we will not speak. That's it. It's a different kind. But in America,
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. In America,
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I see here with my kids, they ask to be in front of the class all the time. And I see a lot of people where have traumas, real traumas about speaking up in front of the class because of something that happened. Do you have a story like that? Like you get up in front of the class and all of a sudden you start to stutter, or you forget your words, or the teacher says something.
Yeah, no, for me, I just wouldn't do it because I didn't want those things to happen. So,
and it might be that you had before an experience that you didn't connect, because if you didn't want to do it, it's because you already had an experience of either being mocked or being put down. And it could be by your siblings, it could be by your parents, it could be by anybody. And you had that experience and your nervous system knew that you would put yourself in danger. Yeah, so I would go for you. I would go even before that, even before the moment. Why were you afraid of? I mean, no child is afraid of speaking. That's something we learn.
Because I always felt like, and I carried it through. I mean, we're talking as a young person, and I carried it through all these years till like a year ago. I mean, I wouldn't even do videos. I wouldn't even entertain doing videos, let alone I'm working to Facebook Lives to, you know, I mean, I'm just, you know, getting past it. Once, for what helped me so much was I didn't look at me anymore. Once I started thinking about how I'm going to serve my ideal customer and that she needs me, that I got to get over any of these other things. I don't have time for any of that. So this is why I'm here and why I'm learning in such ways, because that's not acceptable. You know, I don't want to let any of that kind of thing stop me. So.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing.
No, you're very welcome. You know, and it is a lot of people actually fight the fear of public speaking by having the other put in mind that we're talking and we're of service to people. And that's the first thing to do. It's not about us, it's about them. And I remind people all the time, it's not about us, it's about them. The problem is, and what I was experiencing myself even on stage, that even if I know it's not about me, if I have fears, if I'm not comfortable with myself, if I have things to hide that I'm not even aware of, it's going to come through. It's going to come through in the way you speak, in the way you behave, whatever, in your silence, in your words, in your intonation. That's what I found out for myself. As long as I had things to hide to myself, not to people, it was, I mean, when I say about things to hide, it was my fears, my lack of empowerment and, you know, assurance, whatever it was. As long as I had all those things to hide, I know what was coming through was not coming out as I wanted it to come out. And that's
that makes
very
sense.
And it gets insidious too.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're not, like, you're very correct, I think, then saying, we have to be able to see it and really kind of name it. And I even said about it, because if it's not like fear of speaking, it's about fear of something else going to the next level. You see all these scenarios in my brain sometimes, and I'm like, they're not even true. It's just like, shut up.
That's good. We all need to do that to ourselves sometimes.
But you know what I mean? It's just like that.
No.
In the scenario, and I'll think, you know what? The opposite is just as likely to be true. So why are you stuck over here doing this? Or that's when it's going well. Like sometimes I know I do something, or that it's like, where did that even come from? It's like, it's subconscious, and that's where. That's why I wanted to bring you here, because I do think even if you feel like, you know, like I didn't used to think I had issues around being seen at all, and it turns out I kind of did. So, but it was subconsciously undermining myself, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So, okay.
And what you're saying, Kela, is actually bringing me to the third part, what we're talking, which is hidden downsides, the fear of consequences. If I speak up, if I do something, there's going to be consequences. There's a price to pay. And that brings us really to the fight, flight, or freeze part of our life, of that the part that says better safe than sorry. That's how I call her. I came with this cute name, Betty. Betty safe than sorry. And that's the part of us that says, it's very insidious because it comes into the veil of being reasonable. Oh no, it's better that you get this part-time job and take care of your kids, and don't try to reach too high, don't go too high, don't try to reach for the stars, because you're going to fall, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to lose your job if you speak up. People are going to say that, they're going to see you're not good enough. But I mean, this is really the fear of downside and the consequence of that is that we don't step up. And we have very reasonable reason why we don't step up. Because we're too old, because we don't know enough, because we don't have this degree, because we have children to take care of, because blah, blah, blah. That's what it is. And this, what you were saying, Carla, this brought me to that, is that we're not aware of that. And sometimes we don't even, the fear that we learned earlier, we don't realize it's in one field, it shows up differently. It's like, oh, but I'm going to be in trouble, or my boss is going to see that I'm not as good as she thinks I am. And she's going to, whatever is going to happen. And that's the fight, flight, or freeze reaction very often. Yeah. And the kicker with that, which is very interesting, is that the fears we have are built upon the belief system that I was talking about earlier, of all these things we believe about ourselves. And the fears don't have to be, for our brain, for our mind, the fears don't have to be true. Actually, imaginary fears and real fears, imaginary danger and real danger has the exact same effect on our mind, exact same. So whether you have an actual lion chasing you, or you are in a car chase, or you're in a real danger, or whether you're just afraid of your boss, or you're just afraid of losing your job, or just afraid that whatever it is that is not a real fear, your brain works exactly in the same way. And is going to give the same reaction, which is avoidance, which is staying small, which is not speak up, stay in your corner, don't go in front of the camera. That's exactly the same way. And we don't step up. And we give ourselves a lot of very, very reasonable reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we've got these.
Well, they got me emotional. I didn't expect that. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I got notes. I didn't expect that to hit me so much, but man, that really did. That really touched me. Thank you. Staying small. I think that's my issue, and all those other things you hear in your lifetime, what people will say. And thank you. That helped a lot.
Well, I'm glad, Lori. I'm glad it's helping you.
Hey, I have to ask, Veronique, have you read the book Burnout?
No, I haven't.
So a lot of what you're talking about is in that book, and I pulled it up because I couldn't remember who wrote it, but it's two sisters, Emily Nagoski and Amelia Nagoski, and there's the picture of the front of the cover.
Okay, good.
And
I love to read, so.
They talk about the monster that lives in the attic, or the woman that lives in the attic, and reading that book and listening to you too. I mean, it's very freeing. Lori, I get what you're saying, and it can be very emotional. And when I read that book, I actually had the same reaction. I was very emotional. I was like, I've been, you don't realize you keep all this stuff up, inside of you, and you have to take that time to think about it. And that's the other, to me, protection in there, is that we learn, especially as women, just to put up these barriers and these walls because we have stuff to do. We can't get caught up in all of that. But we have to stop and really process that to be more and more successful, I think.
Yeah. We need to.
Thank you. Spell the last name? Zan, how do you spell the last name of the author?
It is
Maybe you can put it in the chat.
Yeah, it's NAGOSKI. And it's Burnout, the Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle.
Yeah. And everything I'm saying is not, first of all, rocket science, but it is known. This is something that, I've been working with a lot of people, neuroscientists. We know that for a fact. This is all true. It's not woo-woo science. It's not weird stuff that we came up with. It's measurable. The stress response is measurable. The belief system is something we know. The theta state is something we know. All those things are real things. What we don't know, what we start to know as a society, because, it's very interesting to be in this pandemic. We are back into survival mode. But until maybe 50 years ago, society was in survival mode. Maybe until, let's say, 80 years ago, we were in survival mode, which means that we needed to have food, we needed to have shelter, we needed to have cover. And now we kind of have enough of life comfort that we can think about our self-actualization, about higher self. We can think about those things, and we can. So all this science is starting to emerge to get us out of a state of survival, as our grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents were most of the time in state of survival. Being in this quarantine, we kind of have a taste of what it is to be in survival. We kind of have a taste of what it is to have to be careful for our safety, our health. We have to have a taste of what it is to look for toilet paper and food and have to change our recipe because there is not this food that I went to buy. There is something else, So we have a taste for that. So it's interesting to realize that as human beings, we go back to our survival, safety first. And this is when I was talking about the fight or flight, or whether the belief system that we don't dare to go against our tribe of origin, this is what's coming up right now. And we need to see that. When we see that, we can do something against it. We can actually build courage, we can build strategies, we can build, get out of this survival and fight or flight response.
Yeah, so that's a great segue. There's so many ways we could go with this. So I wanted to keep it to about 30 minutes. If we have questions, we can go on for as long as people want to. So what do you have so now we've really clearly identified, and obviously some of you have resonated with what you've been talking about as far as what the fears are and where they come from. Where is the starting place with this? If somebody's really struggling with being seen on camera, or, in general, just showing up in a different way.
Well, the way I work with my clients and the way I work in general is, first of all, to really go back inside and go back into the silence of ourselves. That's really where everything is. Most of the time we go look outside. We look, oh, look, this is dad, this is mom, but what I'm doing is look inside how I, as a child, made a vow, made a decision, how I responded to that situation, how I responded to that person. And I work a lot with emotional freedom techniques. I work with meditation. I work with breathing, deep breathing. I work with whatever it is that is actually going into those deep level of subconscious minds and releasing the belief that we built, and observing, does that help me? Does that still, it helped me survive until today, and I'm thankful about that. I'm thankful that I learned that, maybe I'm not supposed to do that, and that. But is that still helping me? And we can observe all what we've learned and decide to keep it, to change it, or to upgrade it. We've learned, obviously we're not there. We're all here today, alive and well. So we did learn things that were useful for our survival. Mm-hmm. So now we need, the point is, does it help me if I want to go to the next level? Does it help me if I want to speak in public? Does it help me if I want to show off authentically, with vulnerability, with charisma? Does it help me to be the best I can be, or who I want to be? And that's how I work. We need to be taking responsibility for everything that is happening in our life. That's my big theme, taking responsibility, yes, I did so far until now. This is how I've been. This is what I did. And that's great. Now, who do I want to be? Where do I want to go?
Mhm.
And that's really the work of transformation. That's how it works.
That's a great way to put it. And I just love the way that this is it's all intertwined with what you work with women on. So you have a webinar or something coming up?
I have a course coming up. I have a course that I'm launching starting in the end of May, actually, on May 20th. So if you're interested, I can send you information. And I have 3 videos that explain in greater detail what I just told today. So I have 3 videos coming up. And if you want me to send you all this information, I love to do that. And the course I've been preparing is 3 weeks to your Facebook Live or less, like be live on Facebook in 3 weeks or less, which is about speak your truth in this time of turbulence. And the promise is that it should be on Facebook in 3 weeks or less. So it's a very short course, but very dense, because we go very deep. I'm not fluffing around. I don't go for fluff, but we go very deep. Yeah.
You guys get that impression from Veronique.
Yeah. No, it's about doing the work. So it's a 3-week work sessions, and with work in between. So during the session, we actually work on those fears, and we go and start to release them. In between, I give videos about breathing, deep breathing, meditation. I'm a singer, so I give the proper way of putting the voice so that it can resonate. So we do a portion of our session is about actually projecting the voice, which I think is important. How to be able to modulate the voice, which is important, but that can be done in between the weeks. So I love that. And then during these 3 weeks, we're also going to go live on Facebook on a private, like you're having, we can do it on your page, but as well, but encouraging people to go live on Facebook on the private Facebook page, so that people get the training from the confidence comes from doing, and doing brings confidence.
True.
And from being cheered by friends and by people, but also from having the real tools. So that's what it is, the real tools, and doing in the right way.
Right, and a very clear guide to what you are. So just full disclosure, you guys, Veronique is a client of mine. I was very fortunate to meet her here in Houston. We were working together, and her content's amazing. So I'm super grateful. I don't think it's an accident we found each other, because I have some mindset videos on my YouTube channel, but I'm not really a person to go super deep with somebody who's really struggling with being seen. So I'm happy to have somebody to refer you all to if you are struggling with being seen in a deep way, because I have confidence that she can help you and really make progress on this if it's something that's been, as you all have seen, it's not just about speaking up, it's interrelated to lots of background. And she's got the expertise in studying around the brain stuff and all the things that I haven't had the time to spend on. So I'm very happy to that you guys showed up. And if you were interested in going deeper on this, I guess, Veronique, I'm going to put your email address in the chat here. Does that work out okay?
Absolutely. And if you want, I didn't think about it, but I can send you to the page. The page, it's not published yet, but if you want to have, why don't we just have a conversation? If you want to talk with me, let's have a conversation. You go on my face and, a free conversation, and we can see whether this is for you or not. It might not be for you, and that's fine. I'm not interested in people who have nothing to learn from me, because it has to be both ways. So let's have a conversation if you're interested to know more, or just to have, I'm home all the time these days, so I'd love to get to know you more, and to see if I can be of service to you, and that's what it is.
Tell me again, I'm sorry, what's the best email?
VE@joyousliving.me. VE, like Veronique Eberhard, VE@joyousliving, JOYOUS living.me. M-E.
Yeah, I put it in the chat there.
Okay.
E-tapping, which I just kind of discovered kind of interesting, and so there's there's a lot of depth there for you all if you're
Mhm.
So do you guys have any questions? Any more questions? We're at about 12:34, so we're doing good. Anybody?
No, I don't have any.
I'm going to unmute Sandra because I don't know if. Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sorry I joined late. I didn't find the link. I couldn't find the link to get in, so I had to scroll back through my email. For some reason, I thought it was on Facebook, and then I saw that you said it's not on Facebook. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm late.
This is a constant struggle to let people know where we are and get them in the Zoom room. So thank you for continuing to try. Sorry you had problems with that.
No worries, no worries. I'm glad I got here and I got the email, or yeah, the email address. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's awesome. Great. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I will let you guys go. Thank you so much, Veronique.
You're very welcome.
Yes,
Very
thank
welcome.
you.
Very
Thank you.
much.
And
Yeah.
please take advantage of talking with me, and that would be really lovely to do that. I would really appreciate. Thank
And
you
I
so
also-
much.
Thank you so
and I wanna
much.
say thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne works
Mhm.
in healthcare in San Diego. She's with Sharp, the Sharp system. So all of you, I know you're doing like a lot of holding space for lots of people's missing
Mhm.
energy. So thank you for all you're doing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. If you have any questions later, let me know. But if not, I encourage you to set up a time with Veronique and have a chat.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Talk to
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.